Hello, everybody, and welcome to On the Move, presented by Momentum Multifamily. I'm your host, Brendan Gardner, and really the purpose of this series is to keep you up to date on everything in the multifamily world by interviewing subject matter experts. And today we're here with Ruben Ortiz of Sayan Renovations and Construction. Thanks for joining us today, Ruben.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan. Appreciate you having me on, man. Super excited. Thanks everyone for watching. So yeah, appreciate you having me on. My name is Ruben Ortiz. I am the owner of Sayan Renovations and Construction. We specialize in multifamily renovations and construction. We're based here in DFW, but do work all over Texas, some surrounding states, Tennessee, Oklahoma, you name it. Where our clients need us is where we go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious too, some of the why behind why you started the business and how you got to that point.
Sure, man. So I guess my goal was always, so I grew up, my dad was in construction. So growing up, he'd take me to work with him. Ultimately, my goal was always to be to have my own business, and I fell in love with construction, with renovation, and that was really, I guess, kind of one thing led to another, and led me to working my way up, figuring out certain things, working as a project manager, working on the labor side, and ultimately deciding that, hey, I'm going to take a leap of faith. I feel like I can do this. I understand the industry, and I'm going to start my own thing. And in 2014, I started Sayan Renovations.
Awesome. And was that always with the intention of going into the multifamily space?
Always with the intention of multifamily, yes. I had tried a few single family projects, and for me, I realized that, if you can do it, great. But for me, it was more, I enjoyed the larger scale projects. I felt like, I was spending a lot of the same amount of time, quote unquote, same amount of time for the, I don't know. And doing the work, it just made sense to go on a larger scale. Mm-hmm. And I love the all the moving parts and figuring out what needs to go into each building. Every project, every property is different. Every client needs something different, and that's fun for me.
Yeah, that's great. Like, you must interact with all sorts of different people, and I know you've had a relationship with Momentum Multifamily for quite a bit. Can you shed some light on what that was like and what that partnership's like for you?
Yeah, for sure. And so the way Hayden and I met is a little most serendipitous. I was at a stage in Sayan where I had my clients, things were looking up. I was starting to get a little more busy. And I was at a point where I was trying to network more, right? And one day I was on a meetup app, and all of a sudden I get this request, hey, do you want to come to this multifamily event? And it was Hayden. And I said, sure, man, I'm in. Let me know what, shoot me the details and I'll be there. Additionally, he asked for some help on a project that he was on a property that he was underwriting. And I was happy to help. To this day, I get some calls from new syndicators or someone looking to buy a new property. Hey, can you help us with it? Sure, I'm always happy to do that. I know what it's like to get started, so I enjoy helping others kind of figure it out when they're starting off. So we meet up. Fast forward. We meet up, we hit it off. At that meetup, I meet Hayden and Dustin, and it's one of those things where you kind of, you immediately know, like, hey, okay, I get along with these guys. I can see see myself. I don't know if they saw it then, but see myself doing business with them in the future. Good guys. Hayden's a great guy. Dustin's a great guy. And here we are, 2022. I'm fortunate, and I've got the the ability now to work with them and work on all the Henry properties.
That's great. Yeah. And I've been fortunate enough to meet you several times before talking here today. And that was one of the first things I noticed about you too, is like you just offering up your ability to help folks and just want to get involved and work with good people. And I certainly believe in that aspect of, gravitating towards the right people, and working with good people makes a good outcome, a good product, a good result. And so with that in mind too, like, can you talk through some of those other factors that might have really contributed to the growth of Sayan?
Yes. So I think it's just that. I think our clients, whether it's a new client or existing client, they see and they can tell, they can feel that we really want to help them. So when we get approached from, again, a new client, existing client on a new property, we want the best for the property, right? We want to make whatever business plan they have, whatever their CapEx budget may be, we want to make it work. We understand that they have investors involved in the property, so we want to make them look, we want to make the property look the best that it can look, keeping in mind, obviously, the business plan, right? And I think our clients, once they start doing business with us, can definitely tell that we do want to help. And we're honest with our feedback. We're honest with our opinions, with what we share with them. And I think that's what's contributed. That's what's helped the success of Sayan grow.
And that's something that seems really ingrained in the culture and that you bring to your company and to all your projects. Is like, how do you maintain that culture as you continue to grow? And like, what are some of the things that you really try to keep as your pillars of your culture?
So I'm glad you actually touched on that, man, because like, culture is huge for me. It's sort of the, when I actually didn't realize it when I started saying, I was so, hey, I want to grow this, but I did it. My goal was to do it very organically. And, 2 years in, a few years in, when I could finally hire my first employee, I realized, well, one, working with subs, right? You've learned how to deal with people, and you have to learn how to deal with multiple types of people on different types of projects, from on-site management, from subcontractors, from regional managers, from the owners, the syndicators, groups. So that helped me learn a lot of different kind of, help me learn and have different communication abilities. So when I hired my first employee, one of my goals immediately was like, hey, what type of culture do I want in my company? And can we keep it growing? Can we keep that moving forward? And it was very kind of straightforward, but it's something that we work on every day, which is a growth environment, a growth mindset here at Sayan. Making sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to grow within the company, and that everyone has the same, I guess, that everyone can showcase their skills. And one is, lead by example. I mean, I don't exclude myself from any of those. Is we hold each and every one of us accountable for what we do. And we celebrate each other's success, and that's it's a work in progress, but that is what we're doing.
Yeah, and like you said, it's simple, but it's something that you should continually work at and be conscious of, because as you grow, it's important to pass that on to the people that you bring on, and that reflects towards your customers and to your investors,
Right.
everyone that you work with. And so growth can come in a couple different ways, and how you support that in terms of, you can support that with people, and you can also support that with technology. Can you talk to a little bit about what technology's meant to your business and how important that's been for you?
Sure. So, you know, in the construction industry, a lot of things are changing. A lot of apps are coming in that are helping streamline not only our processes, but, you know, industry wide. So there's a lot of neat there's a lot of neat software out there that we're starting to use. That's again helping with processes, helping us communicate with our clients. Some of which we've already are already in practice, and some of which we're going to implement in 2023 that are going to be pretty huge. So we're excited about that. So I think right now what it's really done is helped us streamline our process from trying to cut down time on when we get to a property, how we put together an estimate, reducing that time of getting the estimate to our clients and getting those approved, which is pretty big for us.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what kind of feedback have you gotten, and like, why is that so big for you guys in terms of that quick turnaround?
Well, sure. So a lot of time, the properties that we visit are large. So there's a lot of buildings to look at, a lot of different items to put our eyes on: roofs, exterior paint, large carpentry scopes, scoping plumbing lines. So what some of the software that we're using, it allows us to kind of to systematically put everything in, and it rolls it up for us with pictures. It plugs it into what we call a formal proposal, and helps us send it out. Before, I mean, we'd be on a property 2 to 3 days, come back to the office, plug everything into a spreadsheet, and now you're looking about, you know, a week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks before we can get some of these bids out. So reducing that time, allowing us to get more bids out.
That's great. And I'm sure it's like the aggregation of reports certainly takes a lot of effort, but I'm sure your clients appreciate that format that it comes in as well.
Correct. Yep.
Awesome. And then, so I guess technology can help differentiate who you work with. Communication, certainly a large aspect. What else do you think differentiates the good, the great, and the not so great GCs of the world?
So, you know, we're not perfect, right? I won't say that we don't make mistakes. We make mistakes. But I think what really differentiates a good GC from a not so good GC is there's a couple things: is how well you can understand what your client needs. Again, meaning every project is different, right? Every project is going to demand something different from you as a GC. I think obviously communication, being transparent. You know, we can all kind of sense when someone's not being very truthful or honest. And I feel like the industry as a contractor has a kind of a negative background to it. And I think a good GC can kind of negate that by being honest, being transparent, open communication with your client. You're going to deal with several different clients, some of which are going to be brand new, some of which have been doing this for years. Being conscious of that, and sometimes being a teacher to the new client, and sometimes understanding that, hey, you may not know everything, sometimes a client may know something you don't know, and being open to that as a GC is okay. So I think those are only a few, but being communicative, understanding, transparent, and let's see. Yeah, man, I think those are a few good ones.
I think that's key. Yeah, those are great ones. I mean, when you think about projects of this scale, I love that you hit on like, hey, mistakes are going to happen. They might be on your end, they might not be, right? You might uncover some things. These are large scale projects, massive buildings, right?
Right.
And it's about how do you move forward? How do you communicate that, and how do you find that path forward? And so you have to work with it.
I'm glad you brought that back up, Brendan. I think another key is, at least it also has helped with our success, is owning up to those mistakes and understanding, one, that they happen, right? But we don't make excuses. A good GC won't make excuses. He will present a solution and make it right, no matter what.
Yeah, I would argue.
Obviously, learn from the mistakes. They're all lessons ultimately.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would say if somebody tells you they have a perfect track record, that's a little bit of a red flag, right? Because like I said, large scale projects, these things are going to come up. It's just working tight together and know like, hey, how do we find a path forward? And despite these things coming up, the real estate still remains a tried and true industry in terms of providing returns to their clients. So you gave me actually a great segue too into just thinking about some of those challenges. Have you had any horror stories, or when you think about that, like what comes to mind?
So I wouldn't call them horror stories. I wouldn't say horror stories. We've all had difficult projects, right? But man, honestly, I've always seen them as a lesson. Okay, hey, we didn't know this. Okay, we underbid this, right? What can we learn from it, and how can we solve that and not make those mistakes again? Luckily, I mean, fortunately, right, we haven't had any major horror stories, and yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm trying to think through, but yeah, dude, I mean, nothing major, and everything we've kind of done, again, whether it's small, we've always owned up to it and brought it up to the client and made it right. I mean, ultimately, that's all we can do.
Yeah, and I guess like just to think about some of the value that Sayan brings in another way versus just overcoming some of those horror stories. What are some of the common challenges that you help folks overcome to deliver some value to investors?
Yes. So challenges, adding value. So we have sometimes when it's a newer client who's maybe just getting into multifamily, right? Whether it's their first property. A lot of times some of the lenders require specific items to be done, specific paperwork. Hey, so I'm happy to walk them through, provide some of those documents for them. If they already have them, I'm always happy to look through them with them, kind of explain what is needed, what they need to do here, what they need to budget for. Hey, maybe, and again, hey, what do you think of this roof, right? Do all the roofs need to be replaced? Well, maybe not, right? Roofs are probably, sometimes they do need to be done, sometimes they don't, but it's probably one of the last things. And because it's such a high ticket item, unless it's absolutely necessary, then you got to do it. But sometimes there's a better way to kind of spend that capex money, whether it's adding extending some patio yards, right? Which now you can charge a premium for the units, items along those lines.
That's a great example because it just kind of goes to show your experience in working on these properties and being able to say, I guess, really be an advisor for the folks that you're working with, where it's like, yeah, this is a good idea and this probably needs to be fixed, but have you thought about X, Y, Z and what that could mean?
Right. And giving them options, right? Walking them through, and letting them know that, hey, there's a couple ways to kind of to skin this cat, right? I mean,
Absolutely, yeah, because I mean, you're constantly balancing, hey, obviously we want to make a premier living condition for the folks that are in the multifamily complexes. And then you also have a responsibility to deliver back to investors. So how do you balance that in the most effective way so that you're helping everybody?
right.
And so kind of with that in mind too, like what are you most proud of reflecting on Sayan's growth, and then just where are you headed in the future, do you think?
Man, so I'll answer the first one. What are we most proud of? We actually talk about this quite a bit around the office. Man, so a lot of our projects are, as you know, large scale. We come in, we either replace all the siding on a property, full paint, new roofs, cedar accents, multiple paint colors. And some of our favorite properties are when we take a C property to a B property, along those lines, right? We love all the projects, but a lot of times what makes me most proud is when we get feedback from clients, we get feedback from residents. Hey, we'll be on site, or one of our guys will be on site. A resident will approach them, say, hey, our property is looking great. Thank you so much. The property looks awesome. The place needed it. We love the change, and we love what you guys are doing. And it's not just us, right? It's the group's business plan. It's the owners, the management company's business plan. So that's really what makes me proud, and I know it makes our team proud, is just being able to take a property and turn it into something beautiful for hundreds of residents. That's what's really cool. Improving the community.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear that. I mean, it's where people spend the majority of their time, right? And so for them to go out of their way and actually say something too shows that you're doing really meaningful work.
Right. So yeah, man, that's what we're proud of. It's again, completely changing the look of a property, the look and feel of a property. The future for Sayan, we're excited about the future, man. In the multifamily industry, there's always stuff going on. Our client base has grown quite a bit, and I mean, I'll go ahead and say, I mean, I think within the next couple of years, Sayan will be the #1 renovation company in Texas.
I love to hear that. That's a confident statement that you can't make unless you can back it up and you continue to do these right things. So I love that. That's the goal, right? Like set that bar high.
That is the goal. Yep.
Yeah. And so I guess thinking about that goal in mind, like what are some of the things that you feel need to happen to make that happen? And I guess I want to give you the opportunity to kind of shout out the types of people that you feel like you can help and work with.
Yeah. So one, our team is growing, to getting, growing, for expanding our client base. So, targeting different demographics, different states, different markets. But yeah, I mean, look, people that we work with, the groups that we work with, again, syndicators, whether you're just starting off or whether you're seasoned groups, management companies, private owners, equity groups. So Yeah.
And just thinking about the investor for a minute too, I think it's interesting to hear your perspective on the construction and the GC side. Like, what are some questions that passive investors could be asking of the groups that they're working with to get a feel for the types of folks like yourself that they're working with on the back end?
Yeah. So kind of overall, a couple questions that come to mind are, one is, how well do you know the team that you're wanting to invest with, right? Do you know the track record? Do you know what their successful projects have looked like? Have they had a tough project? How did they handle that? Let's see. I think two important keys are, right, do you like and trust the people that you're investing with? And what their value add plan is for the property and who they're working with. Do they have a good GC in place? What's their experience? How long have they been in business? Is it a multifamily focused GC that is really going to execute the CapEx plan that they have in place? Because that can determine whether it can have a huge impact on whether the property is successful or not. So I think those are, off the top of my head, a few good questions for new investors.
No doubt. And then along that line too, is there anything that you want to add about just generally how you collaborate with and what your relationship is like with Momentum Multifamily, given the amount of projects that you guys have worked on together?
Sure. So, again, I'll say a little bit of this. Working with, outside of business, I've gotten to know Hayden and Dustin, and just in general, overall, great guys, right? Great guys to do work with, great guys to do business with. They're super knowledgeable about what they do, and it's great. It's great to work with. So obviously we handle all their CapEx, all their other CapEx budgets and projects for the Henry brand. And we look forward to continuing that. I also am a passive investor. I've invested in some of the Henry deals, and I invest with other great groups that are in the multifamily industry. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say? Those guys are great. Momentum's great.
Yeah. And you're part of that too, right? You're part of that partnership and delivering for investors and like the folks that live there too. And so I gotta say, you're very knowledgeable. You're great as well. And one of the key takeaways that I want people to take from this is just how genuine you are, the communication that you exhibit, and how much you care about the work that you do. I think that really shines through, and your biggest smile is when you're talking about how proud you are of the work that you deliver. And I think that's special, man. So
thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's great. It's fun. It's exciting. We love it.
Phenomenal. Yeah. And I just want to thank everybody for listening in and listening to what you had to say here, Ruben. And Ruben, certainly appreciative of your time and everything that you shared here today and for the partnership. So if anyone wants to learn more, certainly check out momentummultifamily.com, but we'll also put Ruben's information in the description below so you can reach out to him and hear a little bit more if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got any questions, if you need anything, you can check us out at sayanconstruction.com, our social media, just Sayan on Instagram, same on Facebook, just Sayan. Feel free to reach out. You can find all our info on our website. And again, it means whether you're new, whether you're seasoned, if you've got a 5-unit property, 800-unit property, we're always happy to help. Always happy to take a look at it. And yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys joining in. Brendan, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it. This is exciting, and looking forward to many more of these.
Of course. Absolutely. We'll do it again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.